Hypixel Skyblock farming guides are scamming you, but don't get me wrong, they are somewhat accurate, but it really isn't what you expect. I recently got into farming, and while I got some help from some friends, I was looking for more information related to making more money while farming. When I started, I was only making about 8 to 10 million coins an hour. Now I make roughly 18 million coins an hour from just farming melons. 18 million an hour from that is honestly not that bad for a task most people probably do while watching a show or a movie. But when I go onto YouTube and I watch a guide on how to farm, somehow all these YouTubers are magically making 50 to 100 million coins an hour farming, or so they claim in their titles and thumbnails. Also, if you go search up Hypixel Skyblock Farming Guide on YouTube, I guarantee you'll deadass see like at least 10 different videos titled The Only Farming Guide You Will Ever Need. There's also like this one YouTuber that I'm not gonna name. His videos aren't even that bad, but he has made like 15 different videos in the past month titled How to Make 50 Mil an Hour Pest Farming. And not a single one has actually been a guide of how to make 50 million an hour pest farming. It's dead ass just stream highlights, and at the end of the video, he shows how much money he has in his sack. It was not even close to what I was looking for, but to his credit, he does have one video out of 15 different, quote, how-to guides showing the progression of farming, and it's not that bad if you were actually starting from like farming level 1. Another issue is that if you look up the guides on YouTube, they never go into what will hold the majority of players back, which is the starting investment. At the beginning of my farming video, I already had gear and pets worth roughly 100 to 200 million coins. At that point in time, I was only making about 8 to 10 million an hour, but then after getting over 2 billion coins worth of gear for farming, I can only get up to 2,000 farming fortune, which from just melons alone equates to about 18 million an hour. Now comes into the concept of pest farming. Yes, it will increase your default rates more than if you were just farming crops. To go from regular farming to pest farming isn't actually that expensive as an upgrade. However, if you really wanted to get into the specifics of what is more efficient, theoretically, you do need 2 sets of armor and equipment, one for spawning the pests and another for killing the pests. Once again, becomes turbo expensive. I am actually unsure about my rates from pest farming, but if I had to include the money I would make from pests, rare drops, and EXP capsules, I'd say I make roughly maybe 25 million coins an hour, which is still only half of the proclaimed 50 to 100 million coins some of these YouTubers are making. The catch for that is that you can make that kind of money, but only under very specific conditions, and that condition is only during a feast. Last feast was when I started pest farming, and all I do is put on a vinyl for a pest that has a feast drop and go crank them out. That is when I actually made probably roughly an extra 25 million an hour farming, bringing me up to about 50 million coins an hour total. But once again, I have spent over 2 billion coins in gear, and for some of you sweats, you might flame the shit out of me for having a skill issue, but honestly, you're right. I high-key do because I am missing a lot of farming fortune. I could definitely make a lot more coins, but it's going to take me a lot more coins and a lot of time. For example, Green Thumb is good if you have a lot of unique visitors. It's also a 30 million coin enchant. Crop milestones also can give you a good amount of farming fortune, especially if you use a Rose Dragon. By the way, a max level 200 Rose Dragon is roughly 950 million coins. The coins aren't the only issue with milestones either. There are 13 crop variants that all go up to milestone 46. Trying to max this out would take you quite some time, so not only is it a coin investment into a Rose Dragon, it's also a huge time commitment. Yes, you can max your milestones slowly over time from contest and pest, but it doesn't defeat the fact that it still takes forever, especially if you're trying to learn how to make a lot of money as soon as possible. Another thing that could help is completing your greenhouse and also setting up a greenhouse setup to make you some passive coins daily. Some of the farming guides I watched don't talk about it at all. The only way you could learn some more is if you watch another 30-minute long video titled The Only Greenhouse Guide You Will Ever Need. And of course, you want all the mutations unlocked, which takes some time, and you also need a lot of farming fortune with the right tools. Without those, you don't make that much from some of the greenhouse setups. Granted, passive income is passive income, but it's just not that much compared to what I expected when getting into it. The other thing they don't tell you about is the sheer amount of time it takes to get all the sow dust needed for the chips. Yes, you'll get it over time anyways, but don't expect to max it out within like 10 hours. A lot of the guides out there will tell you, oh, you should max these, and these first, which is true, but still, once again, it's a lot of sow dust and it will take you quite some time. Also, if you're Iron Man, you have a lot of time on your hands anyways, so I can see why you would get into farming. If you don't have a lot of time on your hands and you're playing Iron Man, I'm sorry, you're genuinely fucked. From my personal experience, getting into farming should only be done early game if you need a small amount of coins, or if you're going into mid to late game with a lot of coins and time to spend. The only other way I would ever say that getting into farming like this is worth it is if you know for a fact on the side you're going to be watching shows, movies, or just learning something else. In a way, the YouTuber guides are right that you can make up to 50 to 100 million an hour if you're under the right conditions, but the investment cost to get up there is incredibly high. I believe that a genuinely good guide would include all the gear that you get, but it would also include the steps and the ways to get it, or at least the cost. To all their credit, I haven't watched all of them, so maybe some are different. At the end of the day, they're still helping someone else out there. But if you watch one of those guides hoping to walk out of it thinking that you can do that, it might be wraps. If you have an opinion on this, feel free to share in the comments. If you think I have a skill issue, also tell me about it. If you enjoyed this video where I yap about my emotional and traumatic life experiences with farming, consider liking and subscribing. I'm now going to go farm and watch the new video by Bonnie Blue.